Hi, I'm Grant Dixon. I've been around the industry a few years and towed a few boats, and what we're going to bring to you is a series on how to launch your boat off beaches, off a ramp, and I'm going to be able to share with you some tips and tricks that I've learned over the years to make my towing and those of my passengers safer and more pleasant. One thing that I've learned actually from my dad was you always need to be well prepared for any eventuality. So with that in mind, I have what my tow get out of jail kit, and it contains a few different things. For a start, there's a couple of these Holt tyre welds. So if you get a flat tyre and you're not in a position you can change it, you can pump that tyre up, it'll seal off anything but the worst of the gashes, and it'll get you out of jail. It'll get you to somewhere where you can deal with the problem. Okay, how many times do you see if people come back to the ramp and they find somebody thinks they've got more right to their winch handle than they have? So I carry one of those around just in case it's needed. Obviously a pair of gloves for my soft office hands when I'm changing the tyres or having to deal with anything like that. Spare flag. Flags go missing. There's a spare one if it does. Could save you a $150 fine. Okay, we've got a 4-ton bottle jack here and blocks of wood that will enable me to get my tyre up high enough that I can take it off if I need to. And a decent, it's a bit rusty, but a decent wheel brace does the job. Brake fluid. With modern trailers, most have got brakes that rely on some sort of fluid or another. So if you run out of brake fluid, you've always got a little bit to top up. And you need to change tow balls or a bit of percussive maintenance. You've got a couple of heavy duty tools that'll get that tow ball off and change if you need it. How many times do you see people get to the ramp, especially the start of the season, and hello, they're there, give their motor a couple of turns and it won't fire? Well, one of these, a little power all this one is, and they also make Schumacher. It's a kit that'll jump start your boat, and you'll get 3 or 4 outboard starts out of one of those, so handy thing even to have on your boat. Tie down strop. You never know when you're going to lose one, or you need to tie something down, your winch rope breaks or something like that, and you want a bit of extra security, there's that. And for my soft knees, it's an old towel. You can just put it down on the ground when you're working, and if it's muddy or dirty, saves you getting your clothes all messed up. Now, I've seen lots of varieties of these. You can add things to suit your boat and your situation, but this is what I use. And as I say, it's been well used and saved a number of trips from disaster. So there's a few things that you should do right before you even start, and that is, one, you look down the back there is your tie downs, that you've got your tie downs on, you've got your flag, your outboard flag, and if you're travelling at night it has to have a standard light. And then a couple of little checks here. One is that if you've got a handbrake, that's got to come off, obviously. Your chains are there ready, and when you're ready to go, these are override brakes, so you just take that little collar off there, and that enables your brakes to work effectively and hopefully pull you up when you have to stop in an emergency. Backing up's never too difficult these days with these modern vehicles. They've got great backing cameras. Line yourself up and away you go. Okay, we've got the tow ball, the hitch on the tow ball here, and we're just about ready to go, but there's a couple of things that we need to do first. And one is obviously wind up our jockey wheel. And while it's a simple task, there is a right and a wrong way of doing it. What we want is for our jockey wheel to come up and not be able to do that. So it's got to come up tight, because if it's down here like that, the first time you go over a gutter or a bit of a bump, that's going to hit, and it's got the potential on some trailers to actually smash it off, and I have seen that happen. So we make sure it's nice and tight when we wind it up. Oops. That's not going to move. So our wheels up, can't land on the ground, and we can even tuck this in like that to keep it nice and firm. So it's not going to move, no chance of anything going wrong. You'll notice also that we have the chains crossed. This is, being a bigger trailer, it's got 2 chains, and the reason for that is that if it does break away, there's less room for movement. So you want to have those chains probably a little bit tighter than what this one is, to allow you room to still move, you know, a tight, backing around a tight corner or something, but it's still, if it does come off, it's going to be nice and tight, and your trailer's not going to be smashing into the back of your truck. And it's a horrible feeling to have a boat come off of a tow bar, I know from experience. All right, so we're almost ready to go now. We've taken our handbrake off, we've got our brake, override brakes, collar, it's off, and the last thing we have to do is just put our lights on. Put our lights connected, so the thing we do before we finally go off is do one last walk around the boat, the trailer. We make sure the lights are working, we've got our flag on, and that we're tied down efficiently. You can see our lights working, brake lights are working fine, and so we're all ready to go. One thing we've got to remember too, that if you're helping guide somebody back, the trailer back, you need to be able to see the truck's rear vision mirror, because that's what the driver's using to see. So it's no use standing here and guiding and yelling and waving your arms. You're only going to confuse the thing. So you've actually got to come out to about here. I can see the mirrors now in the truck, and that means that any instructions that the supervisor is giving to you, you can actually see and put into practice. Going down the hill, you'll notice I put my foot on the brakes just to make sure that that everything was okay. It probably doesn't matter so much on a short trip, you know, a couple of kilometres here to the boat ramp, but if you're doing a long haul, you want to know that those brakes are, you know, ready to go when you need them. Over summer it's the roadwork season, and quite often you get a narrow piece like this where they've got half the road cut off, and it's quite a bit narrower than the normal passageway. So you just need to keep an eye on how close you are to the cones, and that's where your mirrors come into play. You can see out the back, you can see how far you can go to one side or the other. Just take your time. Generally a lot of it is metal, so you don't want that spraying up all over your boat. We talked earlier about the need to have the jockey wheel up and, well, you know, in the up position rather than down. This is the reason why. We've got this traffic hump here, and this is the perfect place that will catch you out if you haven't got that jockey wheel in the right place. Now that we've got the boat positioned, we've got the wheels chocked, I had the handbrake on to hold it in position, but if I'm not using the boat for a little while, I actually leave that off, because it can actually compress, keep the brakes compressed, and then you have brake troubles when you go to head off the next time. So just release those, like that. Boat's safe and sound, it's chocked, it's going to have a wheel brace on it for security, so it's not going anywhere.